Dean Simon is an American retired professional wrestler, better known by his ring name Dean Malenko. He is currently signed to WWE working as a road agent. He is best known for his time with Extreme Championship Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, World Championship Wrestling and the World Wrestling Federation. Malenko was known by the nicknames, the Man of 1,000 Holds, and the Iceman, the former in recognition of his technical wrestling ability, and the latter for his cold and calculating demeanor. Although never a world champion, Malenko achieved championship success in ECW, WCW and the WWF, winning 11 total titles between the three organizations. Pro Wrestling Illustrated named Malenko the #1 wrestler in the world in 1997, and he was inducted into the Hardcore Hall of Fame in 2015. Malenko is generally considered to be one of the greatest technical wrestlers of all time. Professional wrestling career. Florida independent circuit. Malenko was born into a wrestling family, and his father Boris Malenko was a prominent wrestling figure. He started out as a referee in the Tampa area and even worked briefly as a referee for the WWF in the mid-1980s. He has wrestled all over the world and has spent much time wrestling in Mexico and Japan. He wrestled with his brother Joe Malenko from 1988 to 1992, forming a tag team, until his brother retired. On January 24, 1992, Malenko defeated the Superstar for the Suncoast Pro Wrestling Southern title in Palmetto, Florida. Malenko defeated Jimmy Backlund for the ICWA Light Heavyweight title on March 12, 1992, in Tampa. Eastern Extreme Championship Wrestling. The Shooter. In 1994, Malenko joined Eastern Championship Wrestling on August 27, 1994, as a heel participating in a professional wrestling tournament for the vacant NWA World Heavyweight Championship. He defeated Osamu Nishimura in the quarterfinals before he ended up losing to the eventual winner Shane Douglas in the semi-finals. Douglas would later rename his ECW title, the Extreme Championship Wrestling World title, after throwing down the NWA World title belt, and the promotion was also renamed Extreme Championship Wrestling. He became known as the Shooter, Dean Malenko, and was given a gimmick similar to an Ultimate Fighting Championship fighter. On November 4, 1994, he defeated Too Cold Scorpio to win his first ECW Television Championship. Triple threat and feuding with Eddie Guerrero in the beginning of 1995. Malenko formed a faction called the Triple Threat with Chris Benoit and Shane Douglas. On February 25, 1995, Benoit and Malenko defeated Sabu and Tasmaniac for the ECW Tag Team Championship, making Malenko a double champion. A month later, Malenko dropped the television title back to Too Cold Scorpio. On April 8, he and Benoit lost the tag titles to the Public Enemy. In the summer of 1995, Malenko feuded with TV champion Eddie Guerrero, culminating in a match on July 21 where Malenko defeated Guerrero to win his second ECW Television Championship. Only a week later, Malenko dropped the title back to Guerrero. The two continued to battle over the television title and fought a series of matches that led to them being offered a WCW contract. His last ECW match was a 2 out of 3 falls match against Guerrero, which took place on August 26. The match ended in a draw as the last fall had both men's shoulders on the mat. This would be both men's last match in ECW, and they both gave, and received, an emotional farewell goodbye to the fans. World Championship Wrestling Cruiserweight Champion and United States Heavyweight Champion. In September 1995, Malenko and Benoit joined World Championship Wrestling, where he continued to be a villain. Malenko came to be known in WCW as the Iceman, Dean Malenko, because of his cold, calculating demeanor, and was also given the nickname of the Man of 1,000 Holds. On May 2, 1996, Malenko defeated Shinjiro Otani for the WCW Cruiserweight Championship in Orlando. He held the title for 2 months, making successful defenses against the likes of Brad Armstrong, Rey Mysterio Jr., and Disco Inferno before losing the title to Mysterio on the July 8 edition of Nitro. He defeated Mysterio Jr. for his second WCW Cruiserweight Championship at Halloween Havoc 1996. After a successful title defense against Psychosis at World War III 1996, Malenko lost the Cruiserweight title to Ultimate Dragon at Starrcade 1996, where Dragon's J-Crown Championship was also on the line. Malenko defeated Dragon on the January 22, 1997 edition of Clash of the Champions to win his third WCW Cruiserweight Championship. He would hold the belt for nearly a month before losing it to SYXX at Super Brawl 7. Malenko lost the match after Eddie Guerrero, with whom SYXX had been feuding over the WCW United States Heavyweight Championship, which Guerrero won in October 1996, inadvertently caused Malenko to be hit with his title belt. Malenko then entered a feud with Guerrero, angry over the fact that he had caused him to lose his cruiserweight belt, and began to attempt to win the United States title from him. The match between the two took place at Uncensored the next month, and interference from SYXX played a role again. The Cruiserweight champion again tried to take Guerrero's title, but in the process dropped the camcorder he carried to the ring with him. After Guerrero took the belt back, Malenko hit him in the back of the head with the camcorder and knocked the champion out, enabling him to pin Guerrero and win his first United States Championship. He retained the belt at Slamboree on May 18, 1997 by defeating Jeff Jarrett, but lost the title to him on the June 9, 1997 episode of Nitro. Feud with Chris Jericho at World War III 1997, Malenko participated in a 60-man, 3-ring battle royal won by Scott Hall. At Starrcade 1997, he challenged Guerrero for the Cruiserweight title but ended up losing the match. In mid-1998, Malenko engaged in a heated feud with Chris Jericho. To better Malenko's claims, Jericho boasted that he was the man of 1,004 holds, and the two had a final showdown at Uncensored 1998 for the Cruiserweight title. After a long match, Jericho forced Malenko to submit in an angled lion tama. After the match, the otherwise collected Malenko was left in an unusual fit of frustration. Gene Okerlund then confronted Malenko post-match, aggressively citing his many losses in the past several months and asking where he would go from this point. Dejected and worn down, Malenko replied simply, "Home," and would not be seen on WCW TV for 2 months. At Slamboree 1998, Jericho held a battle royal for a shot at his Cruiserweight Championship. Malenko entered the battle royal dressed as masked wrestler Cyclope and won the match, after Juventud Guerrero shook his hand and eliminated himself. He then unmasked, revealing himself to the crowd following his win. Malenko went on to defeat Jericho for his 4th and final WCW Cruiserweight Championship, thus becoming the first ever wrestler to win the Cruiserweight title 4 times. Malenko was stripped of the title, however, as he did not earn the title shot as himself. At the Great American Bash 1998, Malenko and Jericho faced each other in a match for the vacant Cruiserweight title. Malenko lost by disqualification, making Jericho the champion. At Bash at the Beach 1998, Malenko interfered in Jericho's title defense against Rey Mysterio Jr., allowing Mysterio to pin Jericho for the title. The title was returned to Jericho, however, because of interference by Malenko. Malenko was fired in storyline, but returned at Road Wild 1998 as the special guest referee during Jericho's defense against Juventud Guerrera. Juventud won the match and the title. The Four Horsemen in the Revolution. In September 1998, Malenko became a part of the final incarnation of Ric Flair's Four Horsemen faction. They feuded with the New World Order, particularly Eric Bischoff. Malenko and Benoit also battled the West Texas Rednecks during this period. At Super Brawl IX, they lost to the Rednecks in the finals of a tag team tournament for the vacant World Tag Team Championship. At Uncensored 1999, however, they defeated the Rednecks in a lumberjack match to win the WCW World Tag Team Championship. 2 weeks later, they lost the titles to Rey Mysterio Jr. and Billy Kidman. After the Horsemen were finally disbanded in May 1999 due to Flair's abuse of power, Malenko joined up with Shane Douglas' faction, the Revolution, which was formed in July 1999. They feuded with David Flair, Diamond Dallas Page and Chris Kanyon. At Bash at the Beach 1999, Malenko challenged David for the U.S. title but lost the match. They battled many teams throughout the year including West Texas Rednecks, First Family, the Filthy Animals and the Varsity Club. Malenko's last WCW match was a Catcher's Catch-Can match with Billy Kidman at Sold Out. Early on, Malenko instinctively left the ring to regroup and was disqualified under the match stipulations because his feet hit the arena floor. World Wrestling Federation, Entertainment, WWE. The Radican light heavyweight champion after being granted his release from WCW the night after his last WCW match. Malenko signed with the World Wrestling Federation and debuted on January 31, 2000 edition of Raw is War. Malenko first appeared in the crowd with the infamous Radek himself, Chris Benoit, Perry Satin, and Eddie Guerrero, who all made exits from WCW at the same time. While not having as much success in the WWF, Malenko was a force in the promotion's light heavyweight division. Along with Benoit, Satin, and Guerrero, he had some measure of success as part of the Radek. On the March 13 edition of Raw is War, Malenko defeated Essa Rios for his first WWF Light Heavyweight Championship. In April 2000, he feuded with Scotty 2 Hotty, who was the new challenger for his light heavyweight title. He dropped the title to Scotty on the April 17 edition of Raw is War before he won his second WWF Light Heavyweight Championship from Scotty on the April 27 episode of SmackDown. At Backlash 2000, Malenko successfully defended the title against Scotty, thus ending the feud between the two. Later that year, with Benoit having drifted away from the group, Malenko engaged in a feud with Guerrero and Satin which stemmed from Guerrero's on-screen relationship with Chyna and a number of losses suffered when working as a tag team with Satin. The feud led to a triple threat match at Judgment Day 2000 where Guerrero retained the WWF European Championship against both Malenko and Satin. After a brief absence from TV, Malenko returned to reform the Radek with Benoit, Guerrero, and Satin. Around this time, Malenko briefly became known as 007, a parody of the fictional character, James Bond. The gimmick was born out of a match with The Godfather, who offered one of his female escorts to Malenko instead of wrestling him. Malenko gladly accepted his opponent's offer. As 007, Malenko competed for the affections of Lita and feuded with her tag team the Hardy Boys. He even offered Lita a title match for his light heavyweight championship, but under the condition that if she lost she would be obliged to go on a date with him. Lita accepted and almost caught Malenko by a few near falls throughout the match, but in the end lost the match by submitting to his signature cloverleaf. Malenko's feud with the Hardy Boys and Lita continued in early 2001, culminating with Lita pinning him in a match on the February 19, 2001 edition of Raw is War. He also briefly feuded with Jacqueline and Ivory, who were disgusted by his lecherous ways. A title feud with Crash Hollywood began after Crash interfered in a 2-on-1 intergender handicap match between Malenko and both Jacqueline and Ivory, costing him the match. After both Benoit and Guerrero drifted away from the Radic, Malenko teamed with Saturn for a few weeks before quietly disappearing off television as the WCW-ECW Invasion storyline began in summer 2001. Retirement and occasional appearances. Malenko's third last wrestling match took place at the 4th annual Brian Pillman Memorial Show in August 2001, where he teamed with longtime friend Perry Saturn and defeated Raven and Justin Credible. That December, he defeated his student, Chad Collier, by disqualification in the WWF Farm promotion, the Heartland Wrestling Association. Malenko appeared in the ring along with other WWE alumni during a segment of the WWE Homecoming edition of Raw on October 3, 2005. His friend Eddie Guerrero died on November 13, 2005, and Malenko made a special appearance on the November 14 edition of Raw alongside Chris Benoit. The following Friday on SmackDown, Malenko once again appeared after a match between Chris Benoit and Triple H, and the three embraced. After the 2006 Royal Rumble, he was seen congratulating Rey Mysterio on his Rumble victory. At Vengeance 2007, he appeared in a backstage segment watching Chavo Guerrero. On the Chris Benoit Memorial episode of Monday Night Raw, he talked about the life of Chris Benoit. He was very sad since two of his close friends, Eddie and Benoit, both died, but said he was happy that they were together again. On February 27, 2007, Mystico defeated Malenko in a tryout dark match before a TV taping in San Jose, California. Malenko then appeared on the March 31, 2008 episode of Raw to join the Four Horsemen and other WWE superstars in a farewell tribute to Ric Flair. He made an appearance on the June 28, 2010 episode of Raw congratulating Ricky Steamboat on his DVD release. He and all the others in the ring were attacked by the Nexus. After the tapings of the April 23, 2012 episode of Raw, Dean Malenko joined the WWE Superstars and Divas to celebrate John Cena's 35th birthday. In November 2015, Malenko was inducted into the Hardcore Hall of Fame. Personal life. Simon is Jewish. He and his wife have 3 children. Their eldest, Loriza, was born December 25, 1997. Simon had a heart attack in the latter half of 2010, but was back at work by Survivor Series on November 21. In November 2013, he was taken to a hospital and later sent home from a WWE European tour after suffering chest pains. In wrestling finishing moves: Malenko leg lock, WCW Texas cloverleaf, sometimes preceded by a double underhook power bomb. Signature moves: backbreaker, sometimes transitioned into a submission Boston Crab, sometimes while applying to a single leg brainbuster catapult cross armbar double leg takedown dropkick, sometimes from the second rope drop toe hold figure 4 leg lock fireman's carry gutbuster, sometimes from the second rope neck scissors knee bar leg lariat multiple suplex variations belly to back, sometimes from the top rope cradle double underhook German Northern Lights snap super powerbomb sit out double underhook powerbomb sleeper hold, spinning heel kick spinning toe hold STF surfboard tilt-a-whirl backbreaker. Managers: Asaya Deborah Anderson Terry. Nicknames: The Iceman, The Man of 1000 Holds, The Shooter, Double Ho 7. Entrance themes: All Japan Pro Wrestling, The Power of Love by Huey Lewis and the News New Japan Pro Wrestling, White Noise by Mark Bonnier, Extreme Championship Wrestling, What a Man by Salt and Pepper, Perfect Strangers by Deep Purple, as part of the Triple Threat World Championship Wrestling. Black Knight by Andrew Grossett and Paul Williams. Four Horsemen theme by Jimmy Hart, as part of the Four Horsemen Revolution theme by Jimmy Hart, as part of the Revolution World Wrestling Federation Entertainment. Radical by Jim Johnston, as part of the Radek Iceman by Jim Johnston. Wrestlers trained Alan Funk, Bob Cook, Bobby Blaze, Brock Lesnar, Bruiser Bradley, Chad Collier, Chris Champion, Christy Hemmer, David Adcock, Geza Kalman Jr., Haystacks Calhoun Jr., Jamie Noble, Jeremy Lopez, Kane, Ken Shamrock, Kendo Kashin, Kurt Bear, Mark Merrow, Mark Mercedes, Mike Marcello, Mike Shane, Molly Holly, Nick Dinsmore, Paul Diamond, Prince Iaukea, Ray Ayala, Sean Waltman, Shelton Benjamin, Taurus, Thunder Krakuk, Todd Shane, Tony Mamaluke. Championships and accomplishments. Extreme Championship Wrestling ECW World Tag Team Championship with Chris Benoit. ECW World Television Championship Hardcore Hall of Fame. International Championship Wrestling Association ICWA Light Heavyweight Championship. Pro Wrestling Illustrated PWI ranked him number 1 in the PWI 500 in 1997. PWI ranked him number 161 in the PWI years in 2003. Suncoast Pro Wrestling SPW Southern Heavyweight Championship. World Championship Wrestling WCW Cruiserweight Championship WCW United States Heavyweight Championship WCW World Tag Team Championship with Chris Benoit. World Wrestling Federation WWF Light Heavyweight Championship. Wrestling Observer Newsletter Awards Feud of the Year vs. Eddie Guerrero Best Technical Wrestler.